Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. We have another on-site recording this week. We are out here at Eggie Salon Studio and we're in their office. We've got some killer lighting and a killer setup. I'm excited to sit and learn about Rachel Eggie's story, aka Eggie on the Street. We'll get into all that as we get through the show. But before we do that, I want to give a big, wonderful shout out and thank you to the amazing sponsors that bring you this show each and every week. Building 5, Falaya Real Estate, Horizon Financial Group, Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge, Lakeman's Health Center, Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelry, and you know our outfits are always brought to you by McLavy Ltd. Without further ado, Eggie on the Street, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patty G. I'm excited.
Absolutely. I love how we just dubbed your name Eggie.
Right? Me too. I
So
guess
it's
that's what
gonna be
I'm going by
perfect.
now. I
Yeah.
love it.
Only answer to Eggie from
Okay,
here on
got
out.
it. Got it. Okay, y'all hear that? Everybody call it Eggie.
That's right. So for those that aren't aware of who you are,
Yes.
who are you and what the heck do you do?
All right. So my name is Rachel Eggie Gibbs. I was born in Houston, grew up in Baton Rouge, owner of Eggie Salon Studio. I went to high school here at St. Joseph's Academy, which is actually where my passion started for hair. I would do people's hair and makeup for dances. So when I graduated, told my parents, I'm like, okay, I want to go to cosmetology school. Dad was like, hold up, like you're going to college, you're getting your degree, and then you can do whatever you want. So I went to LSU and received my bachelor's in marketing. And then shortly after that, I moved to Houston. And I was always a very strong student. I love school. So I actually applied for some just jobs there in event planning, kind of the wedding world. In the meantime, my mom actually signed me up for a tour at one of the cosmetology schools there. So I went for the tour, and like the second I walked in, I'm like, this is definitely where I want to be. So I went to school there. I Googled best salon in Houston, stalked them until they hired me. I worked there for about a year and a half, and I always had a vision in my time there. The vision just really grew. So at the end of 2016, I decided to move back because I wanted to make that vision come to life. And then a couple years later, met my husband. We got married. 2 kids now. I know your second is on the way. Congrats.
Yep, thank you.
It's super exciting. And so here we are.
So, I mean, how did you end up back in Baton Rouge from Houston? Most people would think, why ever leave
I know.
the big city where you could be the big name, big time?
Well, and I will say this. I never had the desire to leave. It wasn't until after college that I just had this, like, I don't know, this feeling to just get out and experience something else. And I will say when I did that, I did realize there was a whole nother world out there, you know, because a lot of people don't want to leave where they're from. And so I'm so glad I did because I got to experience so much, and then it opened my eyes to a whole new world. So then I started traveling, right? And then everywhere I traveled, I would visit salons and stuff. But I knew I always wanted to come back home because of family and friends. I want a lot of kids, and I want them to be around the family that I have. So I think when my vision started, you know, really hitting me, I was like, I want to bring the vision to Baton Rouge. And so that really is what drew me back. And to be honest, like I played with the idea for a while because I started growing a clientele, and I was like, gosh, if I'm here one more year, I'm not going to want to leave because, you know, you work hard to build that clientele. And I still remember I was in my apartment and it just like hit me, and God was like, it's time. And so with like no doubt in my mind, I called my parents and I was like, I'm quitting my job. I'm moving back. I want to open a salon. And here I was at literally one of the highest end best salons in Houston. And as parents, they're like, no, like you're in a great position. You don't need to come over and, you know. And so couple of weeks later, I had moved back. I put in my 2 weeks and, you know, and started.
Yeah, your parents are like having a heart attack all over again. Your dad first was saying, wait, you want to go to cosmetology school and not go get a degree? You're killing me here, Rachel. Like, come on, do something. Go get a degree.
Exactly.
And then you got it. And you said, hey, now I'm going to still go to cosmetology school. Oh, now I'm really going to quit and just leave. I mean, the roller coaster of emotions.
Well, and I will say this. My parents, they were amazing growing up, super supportive of all 4 of us kids. And my dad was like an Exxon retiree, right? My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So they were never like the risk taker. So here I am as a child, just like, yeah, I'm following my gut and my faith of like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But, you know, now they're happy I made the decisions that I did. But it was definitely a journey to get there.
I imagine so.
Yes.
I mean, having that planned and thoughtful, methodical family, I'm sure your parents were sitting there like, where did we go wrong? Like, what happened?
Is she doing? And the stories that I saw it in one way, right? But then when we'll go to dinner and it'll come up, and listening to my parents talk about it from their perspective, it just makes me laugh because it's like, yeah, growing up, I was an impulsive child. So to them, all those decisions were like, is she thinking about this? Is she really making the right decision? And I'm like, oh yeah, for sure.
Has she given much thought to,
exactly
to what is going to happen and what it's going to take to build an empire?
Yes. And that was one thing when I did make the move, right? I think as parents, you're thinking of all the things that could go wrong just because you want to protect your children and you want to, right? But to me, I never feared a failure because I feel like if I were to fail, then I was just going to learn from it. But I felt so strongly about it. I didn't think I was going to fail because I knew that this is what God wanted me to do. Like I came back, which this is a crazy story. I came back, and of course that those first like couple months I had no money. I had to move back in with my parents. And
I love that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Were you married at the time?
I was not married.
Okay.
She would open cabinets and mannequins would like fall out, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, what is she like?" They had an empty nest almost, and it was like, here's Rachel, she's back.
And they could see hope at the end of the tunnel, like, we're good, we're done, no more children in the house.
Surprise. So I go, the first couple weeks, and a lot of people told me I was making the wrong decision. Right? I was starting from nothing. I wanted to build this business. And so the first Sunday I went to church that first Sunday I went to church, the message was about taking your gift from God and doing something to help change the world. And literally, and I found that in like my Bible years later. And it was just like, for me, that was affirmation of this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I don't know every step of the way, but I'm just going to trust the journey, trust the process, and learn as I go. And that's exactly what I did.
And I mean, that's ultimately what being an entrepreneur is all about.
For sure.
Having that blind faith that something's going to work out. Or if it doesn't, you've got to know how to figure it out along the way.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
The CYA 360 Business Leader Symposium returns to Baton Rouge in October. This all-day event focuses on the main threats to your business. Speakers will present on fiduciary duties, brand building, insurance strategies, cybersecurity, exit strategies, financial confidence, and executive wellness. Jay Johnson, coach of the national champ LSU baseball team, will deliver the keynote address. Join us for the 2023 Business Leader Symposium, October 5th at the Renaissance. For tickets, go to CYA360.com. That's CYA360.com.
So then when you came back and you started here, were you going to people's houses? Were you in a chair? Imagine, I don't know anything about the cosmetology industry. How did you kind of get started?
Okay, well, first it started with my vision, okay? And my vision had two aspects to it. First, I wanted to contribute to the development of Baton Rouge. I wanted to bring a salon where clients could come in and feel like they're experiencing something from a larger city. They'd come in and they'd experience a luxurious but fun experience, okay? And that's what I did. My vision was like high end. You walk in, the chairs are full, music is playing, people are, talking amongst each other and running into friends, kind of like a social gathering, drinking their lattes. And it's like to this day, we're open now 12 hours a day because we ran out of chairs within the first year and a half. Yes. So
Holy
Monday
smokes.
through Friday we're open, and then Saturday. Saturday we're not at 12 hours yet. The girls will probably kill me if I do. Or the team would kill me if I do. But so it's like obviously not all the shift hours are like that super, like chaotic fun vibe, which is good because it allows us for growth. But those shifts that are like that, I stand back and I just like smile because I'm like, this is what I've worked so hard to create. And it's like, if I did not have kids, I don't think I would leave the salon. And a husband, if I didn't have a husband either, I would literally live at the salon is how much I love it. And I just love that the team we've created too. So it started with the vision of that. And then the other aspect is for the people. Okay. So I wanted to create a business and an atmosphere that people can come and do what they love, but still be financially successful. That is the biggest negative connotation that our industry struggles with is people will have a passion for hair growing up. Just like, it's like someone saying like, well, you have to go to college first because you cannot be successful just doing hair. Right. And that's the words that come with it. It's like, oh, you're just going to do hair, or you can't really provide a living, make a living doing that. And it's like, we even have clients that will ask our associates, oh, what are you doing after this? So my plan was to create a business model where these people can come in and be very financially successful within their first few years of their career. Because this is a very hard job sometimes. And you dedicate your life to literally making people feel better about themselves. And it's so rewarding. Like, I love this industry more than anything in the world. So I never want someone to not do it because of something like that.
Yeah, and generally that's what the hair industry is. That's the message that's delivered. It's like
Right.
this is your side thing you do,
Yes.
along with 4 other things.
Yes.
Like this is the side hustlepreneur realm.
Exactly.
Is cutting hair.
And it's like, how do I create, or how do I start developing it to where it's like people can respect you in that career and know that it can be a serious career? So, we created levels, which I got that advice from a consulting group. I took the level system and then created it my own where they can get promoted. And it's not even just with our stylists. Like we have had girls start at the front desk, and after 6 months of working, they're like, I never actually want to leave here. Is there a place I can stay, like career wise? So, to me, empowering that is amazing. But I think I got off topic. So when I moved here, I knew I needed to learn the business side of things because I've always been an employee, right? So I needed to learn how to be an employer. So I went into booth renting, and I didn't have any clients. And so I literally just started with my friends and family, and literally made sure every single person that sat in my chair felt like $1 million and would go out and tell people. I started marketing on Instagram from the beginning. I said yes to everything. If someone asked me for a 6 a.m. haircut, I was there at 5:30. I am not kidding. So I said yes to everything. So then I started doing photo shoots. I did weddings. I traveled to probably about 6 different cities within that first year of just whether it was a hair show for education. So I just dipped my hands in everything and just got as involved as possible. So I did that, and then once I got fully booked within those 2 years, I was like, okay, I can't take any more clients. I was working 13-hour days. People were literally just like jumping out the chair, and I was like, okay, Venmo me the final, like whatever. I mean, it was so just, I was washing their hair. I was doing everything myself. So at that point, I'm like, I cannot do anymore. It's time to start expanding. So then I went and started renting a 2-chaired salon suite. And so in this suite is when I started the process of searching for a building, wanting to build out the salon, thinking it would just be, maybe another half year. And people would even ask like, oh, are you going to have like a team when you open? And honestly, at the time, I had just hired my first assistant. And I was like, no, it's probably just going to be Aaron and I, like, well, whatever. And sure enough, in that suite, we grew from 1 to 10 of us in less than a year. And
Holy
we were
smokes.
spread out. We were in the hallways of that. We were like whipping out iron chairs, just like making it happen. But our clients loved it. Like, even though it wasn't that ideal, luxurious experience, it was fun, and they all knew what I was working towards,
Right.
And so then COVID hit, and they were like, you can only fit 4 people in this suite. And I said, well, that's a problem, because day to day we have about 15. So we started.
Okay. And how long per does it take to do some of these
clients?
Yeah.
I mean, they're in there for like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
You could get 8. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah,
6
right?
to 8
okay.
done.
So only 2 people were working versus we set up new stations.
Oh, you can only have 4 individual people in the. Oh, I thought you meant 4 chairs.
No, 4
people. 4 people.
So our fake stations that we created were non-existent. So I reached out and asked if we could rent out as many spaces as possible. So we had like 4 or 5, and they were spread out, maybe 4. They were spread out, but I still couldn't employ everybody. So as an owner, you're like, okay, it's not just, I'm not responsible just for myself. I'm now responsible for this entire team, and I'm not going to let them down. Right. So I contacted a salon owner, and she had this salon on Coursey Boulevard, and it was an older salon, but she was so sweet, and she had enough space to where we could all work in there. So anyways, I said, if I could help with some of the rent and bills, like, could we borrow your space for just like a couple months? And this is after COVID, like after we got shut down. Okay. Because we shut down, and then when we got back, that was the, square footage thing. So anyway, she said yes. So we go and we start working in this, and it ends up being for 6 months because build outs always take longer than anticipated, right? So anyways, long story short, then we finally get into November of COVID, 2020 is when this finally was finished, and we got into the salon. So, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing along the way. I literally listened to podcasts, read books, talked to every entrepreneur, every leader that I knew. I knew there was so much knowledge that I needed. So it was like every step in growing, I sought out the information I needed to be successful in that phase that I was in. Because a lot of people reach out and be like, where do I begin? And it's like, yeah, that's a hard question to like, where do you begin? But a lot of the things you will learn along the way, or you'll come to and be like, okay, what do I need to know to get to the next thing kind of thing. So yeah, it'll be 3 years this November that we got into the salon.
Into the salon. Okay, so 3 years, but you've been doing it for how many
So
overall?
2014 was when I graduated school. So
Okay.
almost 10 years. So 9 years I've been doing hair. And then, yes, I hired my first employee at 2019.
Okay.
And now we're at 25 employees. So we're 2023.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So we've grown tremendously. We've been very blessed. And then I'm no longer behind the chair anymore. So I just focus on running the business, growing, delivering better service, and then especially the team. We spend a lot of time just like, putting time into them and seeing them grow. That's probably one of the most rewarding things that I do.
So, and how has that shift been on you personally? Meaning you were used for 9 years behind or 7
Yes.
years behind the chair,
Yes.
and now you're no longer behind the chair.
Yes.
How was that?
Well, so one of the podcasts I listened to when I first started was probably the best advice I've ever received. And it was if you're in the service industry and you are the main provider of your revenue, every hour you're working in the business, you're losing an hour that you can work on the business. Okay. So thinking back, I was grinding behind the chair, and it's like, to think that I was never going to be behind the chair seemed impossible at the time. Right. So it's like, but then you have to know when to take hats off. Like if I was still grinding behind the chair, I would not have been able to continue growing the business as we are because of all my time and energy is being put behind the chair. So it was a hard transition, but I did it very, very slowly. It was like every year I just backed off. And, to me, I was like, okay, it is definitely my job to make sure I'm going to like put my clients in the hands of someone that they can trust and feel comfortable with. Because when you find your stylist, you find your stylist. Like you don't want to leave.
That was my follow-up is like,
Yes.
How did the clientele take that? Because when you get your haircut, you've got your person.
Right.
For the most part,
Yes.
people have their person they go to, and they say, I'm
Yes.
never going anywhere else. I mean, during COVID, they had people like going to people's houses to get their haircut because it was like, nope, same stylist.
Right.
Still
You
needed to happen.
Yes, you wanted it to be that person. So I think that my clients know me enough, and I share a lot of my journey on Instagram. So a lot of them follow, and they know the work I put in behind the scenes. So honestly, they were all amazing and very respective of my decision of like, hey y'all, I'm not going to be behind the chair anymore. But Erin, she's been with me from the beginning, or Danny, like I have a team of such talented stylists. They know they were going to be, in good hands. So it's been an adjustment, but it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure those first times they're like, no, just one more time.
Oh yeah,
Please, one more
yeah.
time, Eggie, one more time.
And there has been times like as an owner, we just had a stylist have a Boeing accident, and so she's out for like a period of time, and so I stepped in and took care of her clients because we couldn't put them on other people's books at the times, and it was so fun to be back behind the chair. And it's like I see the clients, I see people that I didn't know, I see people that I do. So I loved being behind the chair, but I just know my time. If I want to grow people and I want to grow the business, I have to step aside. So now I shaved my head about a year ago. So I do work with cancer patients. So I spend about 6 hours a week behind the chair. So like one day a week, I'll be behind the chair, but it's only people who have lost their hair due to chemo.
Yeah.
So I do have that. I do still get, my little itch behind
Still
the
get a
chair
little
with
bit
that.
there.
Yes.
So okay, so let's back up a little bit because you kind of just glossed over
sorry.
the major life point that was on your Instagram page. Okay, so let's talk about it. It was at the Best Dressed Ball, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
In 23 or 22?
22. So it'll be a year this August.
All right, so
this is a year.
So
A year grow
walk
up.
me through
Oh gosh.
the decision process to
Okay.
make that and to do that transformation there at that point in time.
Okay. So in January, I got the call that I was nominated. And
Okay.
at first, I questioned even accepting it because I didn't know anyone who, I didn't have someone super close to me who had died from cancer. Okay. So I was like, should I be honored in this event? I'm not sure. So I thought about it literally in the bathtub. And this is the second time in my life that something like this has happened. A feeling has literally just been placed on my heart. Okay. And it's like, you need to shave your head at the event. And so I'm in the bathtub fighting with myself. I sound like a crazy person.
You're not crazy.
And I'm like, why would you want me to shave my head? Because all of my social media at that time was used for hair tips. And I had
Right.
long hair. So it was very easy for me to give people tips with that. So I'm like, why would I want to shave my hair, need to shave my hair? So for about 3 months, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my husband, and I tell him everything. So I did not tell him anything.
How was that?
Yeah, I know. I just like sat on it. I just kept I was like, I don't know. I don't think I could do this.
Did he ever like look at you and be like, Rachel, what's going on?
Okay, wait.
Like, I can see you're pondering something in your mind. You won't tell me
Probably.
what it is.
I'm all over the place. There's never a moment where he's like, what are you thinking about? So we go to Superior, get a margarita, get tipsy on the margarita, and I'm on the way home, and I'm like, babe, I got to tell you something. And he's like, what? And I was like, okay, I don't know why, but it's been placed on my heart that I need to shave my head at best dress. And he literally, with no hesitation, looked at me and he was like, you have to do it. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, maybe I should. Maybe I should. So we start talking about, like maybe why. And so anyway, so then I find out I'm pregnant. And I was like, nope, I'm not. I'm not shaving my head and getting pregnant. And then you swell and you look a little different. And so I changed my mind. Well, then this is what's crazy. Mary Bird Perkins reaches out to our salon and asks if we would want to be a partner with them. And so if we would donate the first post-chemo haircut for any women they send after their hair grows out. And in that moment, I took that as a sign of like, I have to do this because we can shave their head, we can help them. But if I were to shave my head too and be able to document all the tutorials, all the tips on when to cut it, how to style it, I said I can help them on a whole nother level. And so that was the confirmation. And that was still months before the actual event. So January through August, it was on my head the whole entire time. So when it came to the event, the directors knew, my husband knew, and that was it. And I didn't even tell them until 2 days before. And then another crazy thing is, you didn't know who your partner was, and you didn't know the order you were going to be in. So still, I hadn't told anyone except Mike at this point. I didn't even tell anyone on the committee. And I found out I was paired with Dr. Sanjay, or he's the on doc on Instagram, which I was like, what are the chances? And then we were paired last. So I was like, the whole thing just aligned. Mm-hmm. So before I'm walking down the stage, Carrie was like, are you nervous? And I was like, about shaving the head. I said, at this point, I'm so at peace with what I'm doing. I'm more nervous about my dance moves that are about to happen on the stage. So I start walking on the stage, and I thought I was like going to be really confident about it. But then halfway through, I was like shaking I started like crying, and I was like, you're supposed to go like this. Mm-hmm. Well, I stopped. I couldn't keep going. So I like went back. Sanjay's still busting out the moves, and I'm just like, come on. Like I had to wait for him. So
when did you tell him?
So probably a week when we found out we were partners. So that night I was like, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. So I went to his office. I think it was that next week. So it was a couple weeks before. And I was initially actually going to shave it before the event.
And just like have a wig on?
Yes. And then expose the wig. And then he actually had the idea of like, I think it would be more powerful for people to see it happen, because so many people have had loved ones have to go through it. And even though I didn't have cancer, but to watch someone lose all of their hair can be, emotional. So he was on board, and he was like, we do need to be very careful of what the words say on the sign, because it's a very sensitive subject, and you don't want to offend anyone. Right. So that I was like, I'm going to let you take charge of that, because I know what message I want to give, but he's good with like, wording and stuff. So, gosh, I still remember it, because and one thing too, when I always thought I would be tipsy on stage, right? Because why wouldn't you be? It's best dress and you're like dancing, but being pregnant, I wasn't. So I was like sober, and I'm so glad, because I can still vividly remember all of the faces just like that were on stage, and just the emotions that were brought. And it wasn't until the next day that I realized like, okay, it wasn't just about that moment of shaving. It was the moment of like everyone else who they came up and just were bawling, crying, because they had loved ones who had gone through it, and they didn't know how emotional it can be to shave their head, kind of thing. And they had actually closed the auction, and someone called me later and said, I just wanted you to know that we were able to raise $70,000 more, that people came up and said, I want to donate, because best dress, it was a reminder of why we were there in the first place. It brought it back to the reason we're there. And so, not to dwell on the negative side, the few days after were absolutely terrible. There were people who twisted the entire narrative. I was in tears, because I was like, oh my gosh, like I know Sanjay had warned like we need to be sensitive of the words, but not in a million years would I have guessed what people were posting with the screenshots and stuff. So people are always like, Rachel, you got to just brush the haters off. You got to brush the haters off. And I'm like, I get that. But at the same time, it hurts sometimes when you know what your message was, and it's like, it can be twisted. And my skin is not that like thick skin yet. And maybe over time it will. But I made the decision to go on Instagram, make a public statement. And then after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm not wasting any more time. I was answering every message. Even like the haters coming at me, I was just like trying to, make them feel better about it. But I said my piece, and I said, if you can see the light of this situation, but if not, I can't, there's nothing else. And so the next day I started with the tutorials. I had gotten my wig in. It started with, me measuring my head and getting the wig and stuff. And I can only just pray at this point, after a year, they can now see why and, how many people it has helped. But it's been a blessing to me and inspiring to like meet these women in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a unfortunate circumstance when stuff like that happens. You have the best of intentions going in. While you're doing it, you still got the best intentions, and you want what's best ultimately for what you're trying to accomplish. Yet people can do a screen grab. They can take one frame moment in time, twist it to try to better up themselves whenever they're calling you out for one thing, but they themselves are doing the exact same thing with trying to twist it and deploy it in a negative light.
Yeah.
And you, as the person who is happening to, nobody gets trained on how to do it until it happens to them.
Right.
And then you have to figure out what you got to do.
Yes.
So if never experiencing that from the get-go and working through it through the first time is extremely challenging. Because you don't know what to say, and anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of social media. Like, it's just how it works.
Yes.
So then either the haters are reaching out and how you respond. I'm sure there are some that were screenshotting your response, like, look at X, Y, and Z, and just twisting the narrative. But it's like, all you can do at the end of the day is exactly what you did. Remind people why you did it in the first place. Put your your best foot forward. And at the end of the day, say, great. Acknowledge that, done. Now we're actually going to start doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Which is exactly what you did. And it was handled very well.
Yeah, well, thank you.
But it's, in Baton Rouge, it's tough to
for sure
do stuff like that, because then you're at some function and somebody walks up to you and go, oh, you're the lady that did this publicity stunt or something. And it's like, no, it's not what I am. Clearly you read a headline and that was it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that obviously I've had to just move forward from, but it's funny because people will see me for the first time in 9 months and they'll still be like, oh yeah, so-and-so was posting. And I'm like, we're moving on. Yeah. We're moving on. If they can't see what we're doing now with and helping these women, there's nothing else I can do, Right. I got to focus on my purpose, I guess.
Well, and the fact that you're, a year later and you're still, you can't hide, you're still going through the growing of your hair, and so it's like the hair still has got to grow back, and it takes time.
A little ways to go.
but still, as much as you're documenting and putting out there is incredible to see, and to still remind people of why it was done in the first place is huge. So, I mean, you on your social is like amazing.
Thank you. And I will say advice for any business owners, because TikTok is something it took me a while to jump on, just because I didn't understand it at first, and I was so focused on Instagram. And finally, I was like, okay, we got to capitalize on this platform because you can reach so many more people at a quicker pace. So I feel like that has brought a lot of new following. So literally these last 2 weeks, and I think it's funny just because it's coming up in a year, so I don't know if it just took some time to gain that traction. But there's some that have gone viral at like 3 million, and that has led to people messaging me on Instagram all over. Like, I had someone in Australia I'm talking to, Belize, like all over the States. And so it's just to be able, I had no idea how much I could actually help them. I knew I could, create tutorials and stuff, but growing your hair out is a challenge. I mean, if you don't want a mullet, you're going to need tips, So it's been amazing. It really has.
Well, and then I'm sure for some of the growing out, you've got to have trims along the way at some point. I mean, I know nothing. So it's like, I can just see and be like, oh, I would imagine as a guy, as our hair grows out, it gets growing out weird. And you're starting from that same base that we have.
Right. Yeah. Like, I had your haircut not too long ago, And
we should have timed this better. We had the same haircut.
Who wore it better? I'm not gonna lie. At your length, I actually loved it because as it gets longer, it actually gets harder. So at your length, when I was rocking like the textured look, I loved it. So it can be challenging, but I just tell them, I'm like, patience, because it's growing. That's what you have to focus on. What's the positive? And it's like you're getting your hair back. You know?
Absolutely. And it's how do you accept your hair coming back, because that's ultimately a big change as well. When you start from nothing and as it grows back, some people's don't go grow back seamlessly,
yeah.
and it's not the same length. Some are
Different.
patchy, and it's
Yep.
all different, and so it affects everybody in a different way. So the fact that
Yes.
you're there kind of going through that type of hair growth journey with them is huge.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So, and how has that been over the last year? The people you've seen, some of the patients you've helped with, what's the feedback been on their end?
So some of it is from Mary Bird, right? And I just talked to the doctor who started all of this, and he called and was like, I just want you to know every person who has come has had an amazing experience. And then the other side of it is social media, when they hear from other people. And I mean, for the most part, I haven't heard anything negative. I've only been like, these women come in, and it's like when the tears come in their on their face, because it's like for the first time they feel beautiful and somewhat themselves. I think that, says it all. So it's been only good things, and I just hope to continue helping them. And some of them are very private, which I have to respect. So I always ask, like, are you okay with me filming, because, and I think more and more people are seeing how helpful it is when I post other women going through it and explaining their haircut, because I only have one texture. So it's like I need people who have curly hair or at different lengths so that I can kind of educate them on all the different phases, what products to be using at that time, kind of thing.
Well, and it's also honing in your skills and your ability to know and see so many different heads of hair at so many different lengths.
Yes.
It's like I've seen everything. I can help everybody wherever
Right.
they're at.
Right.
You know?
So I actually just bought this tiny curling iron, like this big, so that I can create a curly fro on my own hair so that I can start doing tutorials. Because so many women are coming back with it curly. I'm like, I can't. I'm not going to make a client sit there for hours while I do all these different tutorials. So I just posted it, and I'm like, okay, my goal is to get a tutorial in the next couple weeks. I'm going to make myself a curly fro, and then I'll like tweak it and try to, get tips on how to style it, because I don't know how to do curly hair on my own.
Yeah.
I got to learn.
Well, and I think that also is a valuable part of what you do, is you ask for that feedback from people who are going through it, and
Yes,
they have that
yes.
style. You're not sitting here saying, I've figured it all out. I've got all the answers. You're saying, I don't have the answers. Who lives with this that wants to
Yes.
talk and share their journey and what they're able to do with what they've got. So that is very powerful with what you're doing.
Yes.
And you doing something else that I love, if you're doing your document versus create content strategy, meaning you're already cutting the hair, you're already doing this, and you're like, can we just set up a camera,
Yeah.
and just film what we're doing?
Right.
That, from a business owner's perspective and standpoint, is really what everybody should be doing. Because oftentimes when you sit down with your marketing team, they say, hey, we need you this day and this day to create this content. And you as a business owner don't often have that time. You're like,
Right.
I can't. I've got to be working on the business or in the business and making things go. I can't create content.
Yes.
And so now it's this document process over create is massively important.
That I agree with you on that, because too, a lot of the things you're doing in your entrepreneurial life or whatever it is, it's like most of the things you're doing day to day is your content, right?
Right.
So it's like, yes, why don't we just film and get it easily set up so that that's already there?
Yeah. Because
So
I
I
mean,
agree with
doing
you.
stuff like this within a podcast format is great and all, but at the end of the day, you're not sitting behind a chair doing
Right.
this, you
Right.
know. And we talked about it, but logistically, I think I texted you last night or something. I was like, hey, you could always cut my
yeah,
hair.
are you
And you
gonna
was
be my
like,
next
well,
victim, Patty G? Because if so, I have my scissors.
but yeah. So, but doing stuff like that is fun and kind of neat and interesting.
Yeah.
So within your continuation of creation of content, I mean, you could have like a podcast where you're interviewing the person whose hair you're cutting.
I love that.
And you're just filming it, and you just wear like a little lav mic or something,
That's actually a
and
great
you go
idea.
through the whole show.
So each episode is someone who I'm working with.
Yeah, and it could be like Cuts by Eggie or something,
All these
something
ideas
cool
you're
like
bringing
that
to me.
for your and it's
What's your
podcast.
commission rate, Patty G? Come on, I know you don't do anything for free.
I don't have a commission rate on that. That's free. Although Charlotte comes here, so
Okay, maybe the wife. We can hook the wife up.
yeah. So, what made you kind of get so heavy on Instagram in the first place?
I think it's just knowing the opportunities it will provide. A lot of people, there's obviously ways to pay for marketing, but then Instagram is something that's free. So it's like, why not do all the stuff you can do with money, but then also utilize the free one? So when I started, it was called House of Eggie in the beginning, and I just was always behind the camera. People who followed me knew my story, all the work I was doing behind the scenes, how I got to where I I was. And I even tell our associates now, I'm like, don't wait till you're just this like badass stylist to start posting your stuff. It's like, let your followers see the work that you're putting in to get you where you want to be. And I think that that gains a relationship and trust with your following. So I did that a long time ago. And then there was a period where I kind of like slowed down. I stopped just getting on Raw, just like stories and talking. But I knew I needed to. I didn't have the motivation. So this last year, I probably re-picked up, and I just have been so consistent with stuff. So I think it's just knowing you have to do it, and you can grow your business so much, bigger and reach so many more people. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know. And then obviously with the tutorials, it's like, okay, well, Instagram is definitely, and TikTok are the best ways to post.
Yeah.
And that way it's like she might not be going through that phase right now, but all of that's still going to be there when you get to the point of that phase.
So, and do you have a YouTube channel as well?
So I have one. So I had two girls that worked for me in salon marketing, and they started a YouTube channel. So they used to just like because it's so hard sometimes to bring it down to a minute and 30 seconds. I'm like, so they used to just post my bigger videos on YouTube, but I haven't been consistent with it, and I know I need to.
Yeah, I mean, your YouTube would be huge.
Yeah.
To have tutorials and playlists of curly hair, straight hair, frizzy hair, whatever it may be, and you have all your videos within that, and then pulling micro sections of it for YouTube Reels. Would be that next step, which would be, I'm sure, be huge.
Well, and it's like, I think I am getting to that point of, it's like, obviously we have a marketing director for the salon, but it's a lot of work for her to do the salon and then my personal stuff. So I think it might be at that point where like I might need a full-on personal too, because it's so much. I mean, this morning I spent 2 hours just editing the video, a 1 minute and 30-second reel that I did yesterday, and it's like, that's a lot of time.
Okay.
Like, I can create the content. I have a problem with delegating the editing. Like, there is just, when I know what I want to put out there, I have a vision for it. There's an emotion that I want to capture, and whether it's happy, whether it's sad, whether it's like excited, like, so when I edit, it's like there's clips that I want to be shown to bring those emotions out in people. So I don't know. It's something, that's one hat that I'm really bad at taking off. I've learned to delegate everything else in my life, but I cannot seem to just like, do it.
Which is the hardest part.
Yes.
Within marketing, because it's your voice of your brand.
Right.
And you have got a balancing act of your personal brand that you're putting out there, and then the salon brand that you're putting out there. So, yeah. Realizing, okay, what do I want this to say?
Right.
So then it's like that next step of anybody can edit it, but it's like, how do I get it to the point where they deliver the message that I want? And that took me quite a few years to get to the point where I was like, I don't have the bandwidth to do it all. And from the first couple months are brutal, because you're like, I would have phrased this differently. I would have done this a little differently.
Yeah.
I would have done this and would have done that. But it is part of the process where you document your process as a stylist or doing whatever it is you're doing for your documentaries and whatnot. But then if you hire a team, it's like they've got to kind of feel their groove.
Right.
But as a business owner, you don't want to have this climb of your brand and then have a drop off by bringing somebody else in. And so it's, how do you figure out how to do that?
Right.
And keep the climb going.
And I know it's like anytime you bring someone new in a position, right? It's like, you have to realize you may take a small step back in that training process, but it's only going to help you take another step forward, because it's like if I brought someone on, if I can critique as much as possible, maybe that first couple months, and then it's like teaching them how to see it how you see it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's just doing it.
And that was for me, I was doing my best to minimize that gap and shrink and shorten that amount of time of like constant feedback. So I just spent probably a week or so and wrote like a 15-page Bible of what it was the show had to do and how to cut it and produce it. So much where it was like, here's a caption you might think would be a good idea. Here's how you really need to reword it.
That's a good idea.
Because it was,
I like that.
I mean,
so you give him a whole,
I gave him a playbook, a template, and then and then at the end it was like, here's how you post. Here's your content schedule. To where I think we're at like 75. I think we're at 80 or 100 pieces of content within a week is what we have to post. And it's like, here's where they're at. Here's the length. Here's how you can get it posted quicker, more efficient, and then over time they're able to get it down quicker. I mean, they started out and it's like 100 hours and a couple weeks is how much I spent, and now we're like half of that.
Half of it. That's awesome.
And it's, but yeah, having that literally written, like if I'll forward
I
you the
might need to pick your
Bible
brain
because
later.
I go through
That's
the
awesome.
mindset of how you have to look at each piece of content,
Okay.
what you have to
Breaking
think
it
about, what
down.
it's saying, and then for us, you don't want to get too salesy with our captions, right?
Mhm.
Because you can easily get real salesy by clipping a piece of this content and saying you got to go see Eggie at her salon because X, Y, and Z. It's like we're not selling
Right.
anything. We're
Yes.
sharing their story,
Mhm.
and so then it's like here's what you would want to post, but here's what you really should translate it and transpose
I
it
love
into.
that.
So that for me was huge.
Okay, that's
getting
good
to
to
that
know.
point.
See,
So
there's always more to learn.
for you, maybe it's like I need 6 versions of one post so I can decide what type of emotion I want to go with that post. Where it's clip this and make it happy, clip this, make it sad, clip this and make it serious, and then you can kind of pick it.
I love that idea. That's great. That's really good.
But it's very time intensive on the front end.
On the front end. That's the thing. It's like you got to slow down to get where you need to be,
Which
with
as a business owner, you'd almost don't want to, because then you feel like your business
Stepping-
slows back.
For sure.
And it's like
I don't have time.
and you never have
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And so every time I sit down with somebody in the chair and they're like, well, I really could do that, I just don't have the time for it. I'm like, you have to recognize it's worth the energy and effort,
because it's going
on
to
the
create
front
you a
end.
lot more time in the future if you were to do it.
Yeah, it frees up so much more
Yeah.
time within your day.
Yeah.
And then with you've now kind of shifted to where we're in a totally different office than your salon
Mm-hmm.
for the back end of the business and everything. So when did all this happen?
Yeah, this was a big step, and I was so excited. So we have an office in the salon. It's a tiny little cubicle, and so now it's me, and then I have a manager. We have a marketing director, and then we have a salon assistant manager. So between the 4 of us, like not even 2 people can fit in there. So I reached out to the building next to us just to see if they had any extra space, and so luckily he said yes. And I don't know if we needed it this big, but it's been amazing. This is where we do all of our one-on-ones, interviews, things like that. So it just gives us some privacy. But we have it month to month. So I'm like, okay, we really decked this place out. So please don't kick us out anytime soon. So now that we've had it, though, I know that this is something that we need to have all the time. So when we do kicked out, we'll just figure it out from there,
Yeah, maybe just like expand into the building.
Yeah, behind
Where
us
y'all
or
are at,
next
yeah.
door. I can't kick our friends out, I'm going to have to just build out.
This is true. Like, so I've had not quite everybody
Yeah.
in y'all's wing over there where y'all are at, but just about everybody in y'all's little office park I've had on the show already.
Oh, I love that. Anna with Trifecta.
Yeah.
Yes, she loves you.
I walked in, I was like, I didn't realize Trifecta was here.
Yes. We go way back.
Because like where y'all are at on Goodwood, I live 2 minutes down the road.
Oh.
And this is just part of Goodwood I've never spent a whole lot of time
Yeah.
on, and it's like recognizing, oh my gosh, there's so many
This isn't-
businesses here.
Yes.
I didn't realize it.
Well, and this was the old Blueprint building. So Anna was in it first, and then our husbands go back in the day. And so I met her probably about 6 years ago, I guess, when my husband and I met. And then she was in there, and then she's the one who told me about that building. So yeah, before it was an older like Blueprint building. So you
Okay.
probably weren't ever like coming down here.
Yeah, but now it's like Goodwood's starting
Yeah,
to kind of
they're starting to
expand
add some
and
stuff.
have stuff
Bring
for you to
people
come
here.
over here.
Yeah, for sure.
So you also do another little segment we've dubbed Eggie in the Streets. Meaning
Love this.
you go out and like will find people in random places and try to
Okay.
help them with their hair. I'm convinced you're gonna get behind the lights and help Barrett with his style after the show.
I did look at it. I will say.
And she's beforehand. She's like,
I
"Hang on,
already saw the
hide in the light." Like,
potential.
wait, Barrett, come here, man. Let's.
Bringing it soft 7, hard 10. Yeah,
That's
that's a
right.
perfect example.
So, what in particular I wanted to talk about was your band incident.
Okay.
Walk us through. I mean,
Okay.
how did that happen? It's a gem of a piece of content, by the way.
Okay,
I
well,
love
thank
it.
you.
But how did it happen?
So we get there, the band starts playing, and immediately off the bat, I saw the pianist, and he had his bangs were like, falling over his forehead. So I, whatever, went about my night, and then we, kept eating, kept drinking, and so then they were at their last song, and I'm like, no, I gotta help him. So I don't have any product, so I went up to the band guy and I was like, the guitarist, and I said, do y'all have any like guitar wax or anything? So he gave me this stick. And so I felt it and it wasn't sticky enough. So then I asked the waitress, I'm like, do y'all have any honey? And she was like, yeah, let me go ask the kitchen. So we go in, I get the honey. And so in my head, the reason I was like, I want to do this is because hair can make such a difference on someone. Like it literally can change your entire look. And so I saw the potential when I looked at him. So I go up. He was such a trooper. I mean, he was so sweet about it.
He was like still playing the
He had
piano
no
as
idea.
you're going on.
Right. And then he's like, so I get on the mic because I wanted everyone to like pump him up. And so I get on and I'm like, okay, guys, because it only takes 5 minutes, not even. And I was like, do y'all want to see him go from a soft 7 to a hard 10 in 5 minutes? And then everyone's like, okay, like what's going on? And then so they're clapping and he's like, a soft 7. I'm just excited. I'm a soft 7. And I'm like, I know, but don't you want to be a hard 10? So anyways, I put it in. And so what it did, it just lifted it and it gave him a style. Like, it's kind of like, this is no offense to anyone, but the Catholic high swoop. Remember that? And so.
Remember that. I wore that.
Exactly. Okay. So I remember when I was behind the chair, I loved when guys would come in and they'd be like, I want the same cut. And I would refuse. I was like, I'm not doing the same cut. I said, you're this age. I said, we need to like, step it up. And I would do the whole transformation and they would be like, oh my gosh, so it's just like, that's what excites me is knowing how to give them more confidence. And so anyways, all the women are like cheering him on. He had the biggest smile on his face. He's like, we need an encore. And he just starts playing and he's smiling with his new hair.
I was like, I'm a 10 now.
So that was the first like public thing I've ever done, but I'm not gonna lie. And then I went to a restaurant recently and I saw the manager and I was like, I can help. I know I can give him a new style to bring him like confidence. And it's like, what role are you? You're like a manager of high-end restaurant, right? It's like, so let's play the part and like have the hair match the role kind of thing. So that's, I don't know. It just kind of happened. But then you're like, what's the name of it?
Yeah, I was like,
Eggie
this
on
has
the
got to be a
streets.
segment at the point,
Now that I've done it, it's definitely going to have to be like a thing when we go places and see a band member who might need a little help.
Well, and so when you look at hair and styling, women are always kind of grown-ups having to comb their hair, braid their hair, straighten their hair. It's always a thing to style it. Guys are not.
Right.
Like, I remember growing up, my dad would get us in the bathroom with a hard comb and just, all right, next. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's all we got. And so the Catholic high swoop kind of became just an easy style because there was no style. You would just comb and you just flip your hair.
Yeah.
Right. And depending on how long it grew, mine was, mine started flipping out because of how long it was. I was
past the eyes.
Oh, it was past the eyes and coming out, and
yeah.
then the back would start flipping out and curling as well. I was homeschooled, so I didn't have any parameters to maintain my hair. So I didn't have the got to be off the ears and off the collar and above the eyebrows. I didn't have any of that.
Okay,
so but I still wore the same style, and it would always just.
So when did you get rid of it?
I got rid of it, I think, junior or senior year in college.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean.
That sounds about right.
Look, I landed my wife with
the
style.
Winner.
That's what I'm saying. She still dated me while I had the Catholic high swoop.
So then it only went up from there,
Right. She called me a work in progress at the time.
Oh, that's amazing. But like the thing is, like, even 2 or 3 year old boys, like, I'll have messages like, how do I style my little kid's hair? Because they do like the bowl cut, right? And now you might not want your kid to look like a little teenage boy at that age, but when you do the transformation of that haircut, it's like, it's a huge change. And it's the same thing of all ages, but I don't know. It's just like a lot. And I think it is too, like a Baton Rouge thing. A lot of men, I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of men just don't care. It's just like whatever.
And it's not a thought.
Right. So I've been to enough places to where I know like that's not everywhere. So it's just like, I just want to, help where I can.
Well, and then you end up with guys getting in a situation where they don't do anything to it. So they just comb it and push it to the side and get it out of the hair with no product or anything. Or they just keep it short enough so they don't have to deal with it.
Right.
And it's like you have
create
so much hair, you could create a style to be your own, look different.
Yes.
And then you end up with this range of people where the kids will the kids in schools, like before high school and whatnot, will grow their hair out. And then during the summer, they'll just shave into a mullet.
Yes.
Because it's a summertime thing to do. And then when you get to high school, you're like, well, we can't really shave into a mullet at this point. But then when you get to college, you're like, no, we can shave a mullet now, So then you show up to a job interview and you've got a mustache and a mullet.
Yes, the
and
mustache.
they sit there and they just look at you and you're like, what? You're in where you were working beforehand was fine.
Yeah.
You're in a professional office setting.
Yeah.
Do you still think that hairstyle is what you want to stay with?
And they're like, yes.
Yeah,
most of the time.
Yeah, this is what I want. Yeah.
Until someone tells them.
But that's the thing too. It's like, where do they get their information? How can they be shown and taught how to style your hair?
Yes.
Same thing with men's attire. There's, in Baton Rouge, there's not really a bunch of guys going around saying, hey, guys, here's how to dress. Because who really wants to be told how to dress as a guy? You want to throw on whatever's easy and comfortable, and that's it.
Yes.
So, there's not many people going around saying this is the style.
This is how you should do it.
This
And
is
there's
how you should
obviously
wear it.
multiple. Like Barrett, for you, I envision like Brad Pitt / Ryan Gosling, short textured with some Rough Rider.
Oh, yeah. Like he's got the stubble and all that on the
he's
face.
got the
I think we
beard
can make it work,
going.
yeah.
It'd be a whole new look.
I'm telling you, Falia would sell a whole bunch of homes after that. Barrett becomes the face. Barrett's face now on the Falia signs. I love it.
It just brings the confidence, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, that's fun. Okay, Eggie on the streets. Got it.
So, I mean, now we've got to make this whole,
I
you got to get
know.
Wakely, you need a gimbal, an iPhone gimbal, and you
that's
need a
gonna
little
be a podcast
lavalier
episode.
mic. Absolutely.
Okay.
This week on Eggie on the
I'm
Streets.
going to dinner tonight, actually, so I'll be on the lookout.
Oh, do it.
I will.
Now,
I will.
in the world of now, you'll get to the point, Eggie, where you're going to have to start carrying around releases.
Can you sign?
Yes, I will fix your hair. I will take you from a soft 7
But
to a
don't come
hard
sue
10.
me when I put you on Instagram.
But you need to sign this release.
Gosh, you might be right. Like, that guy didn't know I was going to post them. Yeah, I know.
Does he know now?
Well, so actually,
Do we need to cut this from the show?
At the end of the caption, I said, if anyone knows his name, please tell me, because I wanted to reach out and check and
Right.
see how he liked it. And someone messaged me, and her husband coaches his son. So I was like, so I think he's okay.
Have you talked to him since?
No, I haven't. So maybe I should check in again.
Probably.
I really wanted him to come in and get a haircut, so I need to reach out and just see.
Okay, so wait. So we haven't addressed this. Do you do men's hair as well?
No, well, I mean, when I was behind the chair, like
Okay, okay.
yeah. So I'm really not behind the chair, but if someone's gonna like let me do a whole transformation on them and we can like post for education purposes, then yes.
Look, I'll be your guinea
I will
pig.
do it.
I'll be your guinea
See,
pig.
like
I'll
I
be your
can change
first.
yours
I'll
up
be your
too.
first episode.
Love it. Okay, I'm holding you to that.
Sounds good.
We'll do a Patty G.
We've got to film
Eggie
it though.
Street collab.
Yes.
And then we'll cut your hair
That's it.
and change up the style.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like right now, what you rock is like professional, sleek, like clean, right? But it's like, okay, what if you're going to Superior with your buddies? Like, why don't we get like a rough, textured look on it as well? A more relaxed, casual.
I like it.
You know?
I like it.
Yeah.
Can it be passed off as a CPA though?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what your real job
That's
is?
what my real job is.
Yes.
That's what my other part of my life is.
I love it. Okay, yes, I'll keep that in mind when we do it.
But I still like it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to
For new
new
change.
things. That's
Okay.
right. Look, I let
You want it to be
McLavy dress me.
versatile.
You know?
Yeah.
I give up all control. I'm like, what do you want me in
Like,
this
love
week?
it. That's amazing. I love
So yeah,
it.
I'll be your
Okay,
first
we'll do
Eggie
it.
on the Street podcast edition.
Awesome.
We'll bring in cameras and lights.
Yes.
And we'll make it
It'll
work.
be like a setup.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
We gotta make that
Oh
happen.
my God, I'm so excited. We'll set a date before we leave here today.
Yeah, we'll lock it on the
Okay.
calendars.
Patty
So,
G and Eggie on the street.
I like it. We'll
Okay.
come up with
Something.
with a title for
Okay.
something. But I like where this is headed.
Me too.
See, this is what we need more of in Baton Rouge. This collaborative,
Yes.
cross
I
branding,
know.
creative.
Like people too who can like get together and just like bounce ideas off of each other. I think that's really hard. That's a struggle too. It's like you want to be surrounded by people who challenge you and bring you ideas and stuff. And it's like, okay, where can you go to get that? But yeah, I mean, I could probably sit here and talk to you all day.
Well, and in totally different industries as well.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm in CPA and then this creative with the show, and then you do hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's like our paths ordinarily would never collide.
Right.
And how do we create this ecosystem of creators and whatnot that do overlap and do create and do
Yes.
collide, where you're like, oh, wait, now I get to talk to this person. Now I
Mhm.
get to talk to this person. And then you get all their feedback and all their ideas.
Mhm.
And you figure out how you make it work for your industry.
For sure. I think because there's a lot of similarities. Business is business, right?
Right.
In general terms. So it's like things we use to like motivate our employees or like keep people excited. It's like, okay, that's something you could do in any industry. So yes, I think people have things in common from all different industries, and that's what's cool when you bring them together.
Yeah. So,
So-
it's I try to do a little bit of it, which you'll get an invite for this year. Every year with every guest, we do a little patio
Oh,
party.
Love that.
So we bring everybody back that were on the
Okay.
show. So
I'll
it's
be
fun.
there.
But we could talk all day.
I
However, we
know.
kind of start wrapping the show
Okay.
up. So we do have a set list of questions we ask every
Okay.
guest.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So they're very hard hitting questions,
Okay.
and there are right or wrong answers.
Okay.
The first one is, what is something you did as a kid
Okay.
you wish you could still do today?
Sleep in.
Love it.
I mean,
that's such a relatable answer.
Literally, my husband and I will take a trip, and still my body now wakes up at 6 o'clock because I'm so used to just like waking up so early with the kids.
Oh yeah.
So that's a great question, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Sleeping in. I love it. Look, 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm typically a 4 a.m. guy.
Wait, speaking of, your wife told me that you're an early bird. So wait, because we started, I was telling her, I literally got this book that said called The Morning Miracle, how to learn how to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and like start your day. And so she told me, which I started doing it, is when the baby, this is when my newborn was like newborn.
Yeah.
But you were waking up when the baby woke up or something, you would just like start your day.
Yeah, so I would do the morning shift when he was about 1 or 2 months old.
Yeah.
So Charlotte would do the late night, and then I would get up in the morning at 3 a.m. whenever he woke up. And I did it for probably 2 or 3 days where I would go back to sleep, and I'd get up for work at 5 or 6.
Okay.
And those 2 to 3 hours basically killed me because I just then woke up groggy, and it was like enough to not complete a full REM cycle,
Yes.
but get right at the peak of it to where when
And
you
then you have
wake
to
up, you're just like, oh.
Yes.
And so I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay awake and start my day. So I was then at 3:30, I was up, and I was like, well, I'm up. I've got a membership to Anytime. I'm just going to start going to the gym. And so that's when I would just start going. And of course, as luck would have it, he then started sleeping through the night 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, now he's not getting up till 6. I've already created this habit.
Yeah,
I got to
so you
maintain this
started?
habit. So then it's just like 4 a.m. every
That's
day from there.
awesome.
So yeah, it's what I realized is I get 2 hours of just quiet where I can go to the gym till 5 and I'm back making
Yes.
coffee, getting lunches together. You know, Charlotte starts to kind of roll over around 5:30ish, 5:45, and then Quentin doesn't wake up till like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
That's nice.
So it's like we have so many hours before
Yes.
he even gets up to start his day.
Which is awesome.
Where now I'm going into the office and I've already got 2 hours under my belt, and it's like now I can crank
Yes.
out and take care of everything else I need
Yeah,
to.
no, I agree. Like I'm a 5:30ish. My husband's doing 75 hard right now, and our day hard, so he used to wake up at 4:30, and I did it for like 3 days, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick to 5.
It's a different when there's a 4 in the hour clock.
Yeah.
it's
a different. I know. It's
it
like
could be
it's so
4:59,
early.
but you're just like this is still nighttime.
Right. But I'm most productive in the morning. My head is in the best space, so it's like, yeah, the earlier I can wake up, the better. But I definitely miss sleeping in. And not feel
different.
guilty about it. If I were to sleep in at today's world, I'd be like, oh my God, the day is gone, and like, and I would feel guilty about it.
If I sleep in till like 6, I'm like,
Yeah.
what happened with my day?
Yeah. Okay,
know?
it's over.
Yeah. So you've done a lot. You've lived in a couple different places, and you've kind of gone through some tough times with getting the salon to where it is. What are 3 lessons you've learned along the way?
I would say knowing when to take a hat off. So like, do not wear all your hats the entire time you're running a business. You literally cannot do that, and things are going to fall through the crack, and you're going to spread yourself too thin. Learning how to delegate. That's one of the biggest things, especially being a mom and a business owner. Struggling, to find that balance. Some people say there really is no balance. I don't know the answer to that, but I think there is certain areas of your life that are always going to have a higher priority, but it's like, what can you take off your plate so that you can focus on maybe the bigger things? Or when I am with my family, it's like, this is my time with them. And what else? I will say this, starting so small and growing so fast, one of our biggest challenges is creating a system and then the system having to change because you're learning along the way that system isn't going to work anymore. So I have sympathy for the employees who have been with me from the beginning because they have had to go through the most changes. So it's like, if you are someone starting a business and you see the bigger vision and you have such a big vision, it's like, maybe communicate with them from the beginning. It's like the 12 hour day. It's like they used to work 9 to 5, right? Well, now you have some people work who 8 to 2 and 2 to 8. It's like, not you have to work till 8 p.m. kind of thing. So, and that's one of many things. So I definitely think it's just like, definitely think about all the systems that are being put in place. Take time with everything and just know that there are going to be changes. Because, I've had feedback of like, y'all are becoming corporate-y. And it's like, okay, well, we aren't like this tiny little 5-chair salon. And like, we are a business.
You are a big
and
company.
Yes. And you have to put policies in place and you have to have standards. It's like, if we want this continued growing, that's how you have to run it, kind of thing. But
you got to think about media releases.
Yes. Yeah. So that definitely has been a learning curve on my end.
Yeah, but I think you're knocking it out of the park.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
So, what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
The people. I mean, I know everyone always says that, but like, I just think the people and the relationships, there's something about how people treat each other and just like, they're so welcoming. Like, I always hear, even when I lived in Houston, they would be like, oh my God, you're from Baton Rouge. And that's when I really started appreciating Baton Rouge for what it is, because people who like experienced Baton Rouge but didn't live there would just talk about how like welcoming the people are. And it's like, it doesn't matter where you're from, or people will come here and meet a group and then be let in from the beginning, kind of thing, or what I've experienced.
Yeah.
And I do know we are trying to grow. We are a small city, but there are people who are bringing things to try to develop this city. And I respect our city for trying. We have our challenges, but every city does.
Yeah, we're working on ourselves.
Yeah, we are.
We're trying to become the best version of ourselves we can.
Yes, we are.
It's just a long journey.
For sure.
So, what is something I can do to help you?
Well, after this, I'm going to ask you all about the editing, the video editing. If I could take that off my plate, I cannot tell you how much time I would have.
Well, you just said 2 hours, so that's at least 2 hours a day.
Today. Oh, yeah. And that was one video. I mean,
Right.
And here's the thing. There's so much content that hasn't been put out because I haven't made the time to do it. So it's like, even if I can find someone who maybe is doing it at 80% of what I would do, it's still better than me not doing it at all.
Yeah. Look, we've developed a system to put out 20 pieces of content a day across 6 different platforms. So it's like we get it out there.
Yeah.
But we have so much.
Yeah.
I mean, we're 200 plus hours of content that we have over the years.
Yeah. See, to me, and this is exactly why I love talking to other people, because it's like, you're doing something that I have not started and I'm not doing, but that would make a huge difference.
Yeah. And especially when you get to the point where you're doing something like this and you're able to document it and capture it, one show can create 200 pieces of content from 1 hour of your time, Yeah. So there's a lot that can be done, and I'm more than happy to chat with you about it. So, but thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Absolutely. This is a very warm and cozy little office.
I know.
You got
Y'all can
here.
come here anytime.
Look, we'll get it set up so you just have like cameras drop down from the ceiling and you just press
Here
go.
We go. Yes. That's easy.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I'm on board to do some restyling makeover things.
Okay,
so
we're going to plan it.
Absolutely.
So tune in.
That's right. Y'all tune in. So thank y'all so much for joining us on this episode of the Patty G Show with Eggie on the street. More content to come between her and I just know it. So thank y'all so very much for whatever way y'all are consuming us. Make sure to check out Eggie if you're interested in what she has to offer, as well as help us spread the word about the show as well by sharing, liking, commenting, all that jazz. And thank you again for all the amazing companies that bring you this show each and every week. Hear a little bit more about them right now.
And new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
Thank you so very much to Building 5 for becoming the latest sponsor of the Patty G Show. We are going to be filming once a month at Building 5. We're going to post about it on our social so you can come and visit with us. Building 5 is an excellent food establishment if you're into sharing boards and really getting a creative menu. Misty and Brumby have done an excellent job of creating an environment that's warm, welcoming, and inviting for every single occasion. Go on over to Building 5 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and tell them that the Patty G Show sent you. Thank you to Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge for making this show possible. Nick Pentis is a past guest. We love having him on. listening to him talk about the culture they have over at Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge is really an incredible thing to hear. How they treat not only their employees, but every customer that walks through the door. You are more than just a number to them. They're going to give you that white glove concierge service every step of the way. They're going to make you feel like family and take what can be a stressful time in people's life, shopping for a car. They're going to make it so enjoyable and so pleasurable. You're going to want to go back there time and time again for every new vehicle. Thank you so very much for Mercedes-Benz of making this show possible. Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you. McLavy's Ltd, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show, has been serving the Baton Rouge area proudly for 40-plus years. Gentlemen and ladies, if you're shopping for your man, there is no other place in the Baton Rouge area to get your clothing, whether it's game day needs, everyday needs, business attire, formal attire, whatever you want. Go over there, see Frank and Ashley. It's a father-daughter duo. They do incredible things in their store. They will outfit you from as simply a shirt that you need for one evening or all the way to a full wardrobe overhaul. They're going to take care of you every step of the way, and be sure and let them know that Patty G Show sent you. The Patty G Show is proudly brought to you by Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelry. Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelry is a local business right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They create handcrafted jewelry for everyday use, that special occasion, whatever it may be. Gentlemen, they've got amazing jewelry both for male and female. Everyone is their audience. You know, after years of experimenting with everything from ceramic jewelry, glass beads, and enamel, they've settled in on the ancient art of lost wax casting. Is their main form of creating their work. They cast everything in bronze, sterling silver, and 14-karat gold. Every step of the way is done here right in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Proud sponsors of the Patty G Show. Mimosa Handcrafted Jewelers. Get out there and tell them that Patty G sent you, and they're going to take great care of you on your next order.